I am a San Francisco native, and I've told this story before, but as a child, my foster mother used to like to shop at this department store in or near the Richmond district. And to get to that store, we'd go down California Street. Now, there was this house on California Street that stood out more than any other. Why? Because it was painted black. And one time as we went past, I remember my foster mother stating, "An evil man lives in that house." As the years went by, I couldn't help but learn about that evil man who lived in that black house on California Street, because basically he was a Bay Area institution. Everybody knew who he was. And the black book written by that evil man was in all the bookstores. It was everywhere. Remember, this is San Francisco. Freedom of expression, freedom of speech, and freedom of thought is what the city was all about. Not so much anymore, but that's a different story. Anyway, as a teen, I began studying the occult, and eventually I picked up that book, and the rest is history. Now, over the years, I didn't meet too many others on the left-hand path, and being a Luddite and a bibliophile, I was late to the whole online thing. So when I finally got online and into the world of social networking, one of the first things I did was try to connect with my fellow practitioners on the path. And no big surprise, most of those I found on the left-hand path were Satanists. And many of them, far too many of them, were assholes. It was amazing the amount of them, these petty little people that thought they found a philosophy that validated their actions. Now, I wasn't expecting everyone to get along in a great big happy circle jerk, but a measure of civility would have been nice. And there was another thing I noticed in this satanic community, and that was how many of them had a lack of respect for Anton LaVey. This surprised me more than just about anything. I've heard all kinds of shit, like he was nothing but a carny and a bullshit artist, and he wasn't a real Satanist because he was just a atheist playing dress up. Okay, now I can understand if you have a problem with some aspects of his philosophy. Considered him, I don't know, an Ayn Rand objectivist with creepy rituals, or you don't get the very Jungian concept of Satan as a metaphor, or you find his whole aesthetic to be a bit camp. But there is something you need to realize. If it weren't for him kicking open the door, you who call yourself Satanists wouldn't be doing so right now. Many of you would still be Christians because there wouldn't be that black book to help change your minds. Others might be in a witchy poo coven dancing around in circles with a bunch of hippies. Some would just be crying little atheistic emos. Others would be dungeon masters sitting in their mother's basement playing D&D with their chubby little friends. But most of you, I bet, would be smoking pot and playing video games while listening to metal. Probably some spandex metal, because that satanic aesthetic you're so used to wouldn't be there. Anton LaVey was and remains a cultural icon, and what he brought to this culture, especially this heterodox culture you're so used to, goes beyond saying. And if you don't believe me, just do a little research. So I don't care if you're an atheistic Satanist, theistic Satanist, spiritual Satanist, or whatever you want to call yourself. Show some respect, and if you amount to anything in this satanic community, acknowledge the fact you do so by standing on the shoulders of a giant.